if I am starting on attack and FaZe, you want to maybe get rid of some of that breach denial on a map like this one, so there'll be no surprise to see a breach denial operator come in, and it's going to be Cade and Thermite, so 2 neutralizing bans to kind of kick things off.
Yeah, the intriguing thing will be, do we see the double down in terms of hard breach? It's becoming quite common in the meta, is you'll go one of 2 ways, right? You either try to have a stronger hold on shields or hard breach, one or the other. And on a map like Labs, where hard breach is impactful on essentially every single site, bar maybe Kitchen, it's often the playbook for these particular rosters. And then for FaZe Clan on attack, do they want to aid in whatever remaining hard breach there is by taking down the Bandit and the Kaid combo? We'll wait and see in a moment's time, and that will be the case. Interesting enough, though, a pivot there. Brava off the board for DZ. Yeah,
Brava's been removed, so that would tell me that they're expecting to use a lot of, we might see Maestro in play, we'll see a lot of cameras in use, so I think Brava ban makes sense. I do love the new ban system, though, because the first 2 bans are really proactive. You're setting up your foundation for how you want to play. That ban that comes later on in the game is all reactionary. What is the other team doing that we don't like? And you've got a couple of chances to nip that in the bud, but we're going to kick things off here on top floor.
Yeah, just having a quick look at the numbers as well. Maybe I was going to be caught out and FaZe pick Brava a ton, but it is a rather niche pick for them. So certainly indicative that DZ are looking to counterplay into that. As you mentioned, right, the likes of the Maestro will be rather impactful. BPCs now will be better fortified. Default cameras even to an extent now, you don't have to be as concerned about them on defense. So really intrigued to see how that plays out. They also bring the Clash for this opening round, Gibson, and clearly looking to hide that over towards IT in anticipation for FaZe then bringing counter util if they do spot it. It doesn't look like they have. And for this opening round, electing to bring the remaining primary hard breach in both the Ace and the Maverick. Habana unlikely to see play on this side, of course.
Yeah, Citizen, of course, as well. Malusi, he'll be using the gadget as an early notification bell if they want to push from certain areas of the map, which kind of, in a way, allows you to focus elsewhere with those BPs. But on the attack for FaZe Clan, you're bringing Maverick. That means that you want to get this wall open. It cuts off the rotates and rafters, gives you direct access in. Just because you open this wall does not mean that's where you're planning to push from. You're doing it to prevent defenders from rotating into other powerful positions. And you got to get it open as quick as possible, right? The quicker that they get these walls open, the more time they give themselves to actually go with what they want to do in their attack.
Yeah, time will be critical as well. As long as we keep the barriers in play, it can be really, really impactful on this side and make a lot more areas playable. So if you don't deal with that rather quickly, it can make things a challenge. But they get the opening kill. Handy falls, hard breach down, and I don't know if that wall actually got opened up. Hopefully we'll get confirmation on that in a moment's time if we flick across to the other side. But if it hasn't been opened, that's going to be quite the poor start for FaZe. Luckily it is, however they're losing players in the meantime.
Yeah, and this is what I said from DZ, making the numbers count. 5 versus 3. Vidiking spots out the Malusi gadget. That'll give away the fact that he wants to push through this rafters door. And in a 5v3 now, you can literally say, right, these 3 attackers or defenders will focus on these angles. The other 2 can float between where they are needed. Clash still getting tons of valuable information on the other side. But as I look at this, drone economy is okay on the side of FaZe Clan. But the utility game, no flashbangs left to utilize. Like, they don't really have the utility they need to crack this nut.
And they'll be spearheaded straight towards the Clash, which could just hold the line, and it's going to be almost impossible to push. So this round is essentially over, barring a massive play from FaZe. They have a minute to work with. That's really the only win con they have left to try and extrapolate some picks. There's a Clash shield in play. Good luck pushing that. No tools to clear it. They'll probably be reliant on a backstab look from somewhere, but I don't know where that opportunity is going to originate from. Maybe Vidiking. Good flash. But no follow-up pressure. Good smoke canister in response.
Yeah, instantly on the smoke, and really what Souls needed to do was get aggressive off that, even if the smoke's thrown, but he's going to fall at the hands of Spirits, leaving it all down to Vidiking. He's inside IT, they know exactly where he is. A smoke to push him out, and Pamba with the kill. Flawless from DZ to kick things off, and I don't know if many people had that on their bingo cards for this matchup.
Certainly not. Sure, it is Lab's top floor, but for DZ to win it, and also in the fashion in which they did, where it was great team play, opening pick, denying utility, did a good job in keeping the Clash shield up. Like, they had all the win cons to play around, and they just did a really good job in fortifying that. Didn't throw anything away for free. Made FaZe really work in the last portion of the round at the disadvantage, and understandably, they fell short.
And my pet peeve didn't happen either. There's nothing that infuriates me more than than when the clash starts peaking.
Yeah.
So Nate understood, stayed behind the shield, knowing that if he peeks and dies, that's access into sight. So just hold your ground, and now we'll reset things up. A little bit of an extended roam here to kick things off. We've got those the cap can traps there up around the map, triple on that door, so they've seen something from FaZe Clan as to where they like to enter from. But I think when you're defending down in basement, it is really important to make this map as big as possible. Think back to how SSG set up the original Clubhouse roam. Make the map big, waste tons of time, and even if you look at the lineup, they're bringing RAM. That means they need to get access onto that first floor. So if you can stay on the top floor, you can delay everything they want to do.
Yeah, it's definitely the modern meta at the moment, is to expand and just look to deny as map entry and subsequent control as possible. And then the follow-up from that I've really noticed throughout Stage 1, it's really filtering down to leagues like APL, is that mid-round aggression, right? Whether you be at an advantage or a disadvantage, you try to catch the team off guard before execute and throw that chaos ball into play. It's really fun to watch. So that's probably something we'll probably see a little bit more from FaZe, is my expectation in the second half. DZ, probably a little bit more tempered in that regard. But if they are trying to bring a more international meta into this particular event, I would definitely be keeping an eye out for that in the mid to late round as well. If they have, especially those key fraggers up, like Spirits on Vigil is a really good example. If he has the ability and the flexibility to roam around the map a little bit more, he'll try to take full impact in that regard. Early potential contact.
Yeah, drone's going to be thrown, and I think it's... Oh, the Vigil scan will get away. Spritz gets his one, and he gets away. A little bit of damage will be returned, but now they know the jig is up. They know there's a roam, and they're going to go hunting. You've got Cyber trying to hold the cutoff on the other side as he starts to throw those rams down, and he's being forced to use them on the top floor to try make it a little bit quieter for him as he steps up. Now, Handy, he's going to hold the cutoff, so it's a death position for Spirits, but job done. Minute and 20 seconds wasted, kill on the board. That's kind of what you want.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty positive trade in favor of DZ. It also handicaps the execute a little bit for FaZe. Glaz is so self-efficient these days. If you can post him up in a key position to cover a plan or gain space late, it's really difficult to counter. Fortunately, though, for FaZe, they're able to double down now with the advantage. And their conversion from advantage, maybe not necessarily just from entry, but even through the mid-round, is very, very strong.
Yeah, they've got the numbers now. They've got no logic bombs left in the back pocket as the goo mines kick off, and that's a great shot from Handy. The trade is there, though, as Panba steps up with a shotgun. 2 versus 3 as things stand. KD's, Cyber, and Vidaking, the last 3 standing for FaZe. They'll start working their way towards site. The defenders, Pamba and NGR, will now need to play together in and around that section map. Now, one benefit is with that mirror window, provided the vert hasn't been created, he can stay behind it and get tons of information on the attack. But that's a great C4.
Clean from NJR, but an even better trade from above. Pamba will elect to go for the trade. The correct decision can get NJR back up. 30 seconds on the clock now for FaZe.
25 seconds now to go. You can see Pamba down to about 75 HP. NJR even less so, but the execute's going to come through from FaZe. KDS will go for the plant, and you've got cover on the swing. Cyber will get us one, but Panba wins one of his own. The step out from KDS, and he'll get the kill, and FaZe Clan take it, but that one came down to millimeters in the end.
And ultimately, the correct decision to get off that plant in a really snappy fashion. Clean work there. DZ just left a little bit startled after that round. FaZe showing a really good ability to force their way into sight there at the very end. And just their ability to very quickly, in those minute milliseconds, identify what the win con is so quickly, it is just a testament to their ability. 1-1 scoreline, keeping things intriguing. And now it is the tertiary site in play, which for me is probably going to be the best tester for these two teams. This site in particular is one that can play out in quite a few different fashions. You have the horizontal clear kitchen side, you can go just direct side and flood, you can go for the top floor clear, you can go for garage legs. There's so many options available to both teams. And so in some respect, it's going to be on DZ, I think, to try and set the tempo as best as possible here and really work hard on that entry battle.
Initially as well, I'm spotted out that Vidaking is going to switch over to the shield. Now, when I see that shield on this tertiary site particularly, you think direct. In through the window, directly into sight, try to get an early execute. But we've seen things. Big one for me is going to be what you can do with KDS, right? You're going to move around the map. can you get around undetected and find that opening kill? Because you know that DZ like to play some form of a roam game, and that's directly what they're set up to play against now with this setup.
Yeah, if KDS has the patience and the discipline to catch a timing through the mid to late round, that could be really devastating for defense if you're able to catch the mid peel or if they're distracted elsewhere. So that's certainly something to monitor later on in the round, but focus currently on the clear. Doesn't seemingly be the case that it will be direct. The Mav indicating that it will be that said clear and that wall being worked currently. It is a 3-2 split for defense, so 3 on the second floor, 2 below. I mean, at the moment, this looks like a pretty standard stock attack / defense.
Yeah, plenty of drones to work with as well. They've got themselves 7 in the pocket that they can utilize to get tons of information alongside Vidiking with a Monty as well. Electing to use his drone instead of just walking on in there as well with a sheet that you see some teams do from time to time. But you want to create vert onto site, give yourself the option to play in from above. You can see that Vidiking now is taking a little bit of damage as he stepped on one of those goo mines set down by Panba. But this is the vital part for FaZe. One of the things they're really good at is taking space as soon as it's open. They don't hesitate as soon as they drone and they move in. But look, NGR with another opening pick.
Was traded though. Monty now under pressure and Citizen hits a clean fadeaway. A 3 versus 3, midpoint of the round. Things will stabilize a little bit, but Souls falls in the meantime. Handy to swing though. Cuts that down. FaZe seemingly having a good read here. Maybe able to now go for the res and give themselves the advantage.
Yeah, you can see that Citizen wants to peek this side. He's being held by Handy, who knows exactly where he's going to push from. Being pressured on both sides now, so this is really good, but Citizen's going to fall. And now you know that the other player is pushing up on the other side. So it's a 3 versus 1, and yeah, it's easy for FaZe. It's another round 1 on the attack. Only positive, I guess, for DZ is they can go back to that primary site now.
Yeah, I don't know if they had direct info over towards blue stairs there, but Handy was really switched on and landed some clean shots in that direction. Negated that mid-round defense aggression that we were talking about only a few moments ago that we were anticipating, whether it be with defense having advantage or disadvantage. It has become the meta at the moment to recontest vert control, but FaZe are too good to let that dismantle their presence above, and with that they have a 1-round lead.
Very disappointed too if you're a DZ fan because they're finding opening kills. You know,
which we didn't really expect, right?
Exactly. And then you're going, right, you found the opening kill, but then in a blink of an eye, FaZe will find 2. It's like DZ are taking 1 step forward and then instantly pulled 2 back by FaZe as they've been able to capitalize on maybe some of the aggression. Remember, it kind of ties into what I said a little earlier too about DZ, right? With Kenny at the helm, when they get the opening kill, they love to try to flex out. But FaZe Clan play in Brazil, so this is what happens.
This is an everyday thing for them.
After day after day. So they're waiting for it. They're ready for it.
Yeah. Handy up to 6 picks already in this matchup, so it's been a pretty good day at the office for him. And the concerning thing for DZ is heading into this event, he is their lowest rated player. I say that with quotation marks because he's still popping off, had a positive KD across the stage despite his role. So what could DZ do now to try and flip it the other way? Can they aggress into these attacks from FaZe? It's a challenge for any team globally. That's why FaZe quite literally lifted the hammer in Feb.
And one thing they're really good at is dismantling a defense once they've seen it once. DZ are bringing the exact same lineup, right? Exact same operators. They're going to play in very similar positions. And you look on the other side of the coin, well, what was the big problem that they had? They couldn't get rid of that Clash shield. They didn't get the wall open as early as they would have wanted to. Now with Deimos from below, Clash can't play that position we saw a little bit earlier. There'll be nades in the back pocket. They've brought a little bit more utility to clear that Clash as well.
Of course, the Clash really only confirmed the round. At that point, I think it was a 5v3, right? So it was pretty much all but over. But if they find themselves in a position where they maybe find the advantage, or it's even dislodging Clash late round, getting control in towards that B chassis objective will certainly be aided. Another Nitro attempt from DZ, this time though unsuccessful. Handy doing a good job in just dangling on to his life. Wall opened up. And so already off to a better start here for FaZe, at least in comparison to last time.
Yeah, 100%. You can see they're playing the vert here as well as NGR will just keep an eye below to those pause spots that you could expect to see a Bok or a Deimos begin to wrap through. Blue silhouette off in the distance as A little bit more vert has been created by the defensive side, and Azami will reveal the position with that ponytail, takes a tad of damage, and Cyber takes a lot more. Full information guaranteed, 2 red pings as to where those players are playing, and Cyber, realizing some of the cutoffs have been done, will just hold his position for a little bit longer. But this is a much slower tempo to this round by FaZe Clan.
Easy should now be clued in. Nafe specifically that he will be under pressure more than likely from below, and KDS posturing currently. NJR though does find the first. And so much like last time, DZ with an advantage in the opening phase of the round. It's also the buck off the board, and so now KDS is under quite a bit of pressure to get value with those death marks.
Yeah, minute left to go inside the round. 5 versus 4. Going to use one of those nades now to clear the barb on the stairs as you give yourself another option to push towards site a little bit later on. Nafe with another kill will make it a 5v3 now. Souls stepping in. A lot of pressure coming now on this horizontal plane towards the map. The Sentinel being blocked by the mute jammer, and there's the value that that clash has. You peek, you get slowed down. Citizen with another kill. You're trying to bait the kill, but Nafe is not going to swing from this position. This round is basically all but won again, barring some crazy thing happening from DZ.
Well, they never got value from the buck, and they never got value from the Deimos. So on the scale of FaZe's ability to play this game, this is probably pretty far down the list in terms of their attacking rounds. This has been pretty poor, given how good they can be. But DZ deserve the plaudits. Despite bringing the same lineup and despite being hard counted in terms of composition from the attack, they responded quite well. They actually did pressure the vert decently well with impacts, and they were able to cleanly convert, I think. Yes, they do in the end. It got a little bit dicey there at the end, but DZ take the round. Yeah, and this side on back-to-back occasions for FaZe, just not quite clicking.
Yeah, and it gives DZ something going into the latter half of this half now as well. They want to get in there. I think, is a 3-3 half good enough against a team like FaZe on a map like this? I don't know, but you definitely need to use that as a starting point, right? You give FaZe 4 attacks, game's over at that point. So for DZ, stretch your advantage. Kitchen, cafeteria this time, so they're changing up the tertiary side again. They don't want to go back to basement after what happened last time around. And with that being the case, look for FaZe taking a lot of vert again. They've shown that's what they want to do on every site bar. The top floor, early lineup, they've already got Vida King in place now. They might change up the roles a little bit depending on what site we're going to play, but it's heavy vert. Sledge is in play. You've got yourself the Ram. You've switched over who's going to play Habana. But the big one for me is how are they going to utilize Souls, right? That's the big one I want to know. Where are you going to utilize the ability to just get information, or is it going to be a plant situation? Is it going to be to take space? I think Souls love it. Look, complete. They've changed it up. They've got rid of it, and they're going to bring the Blackbeard instead.
So to Kitchen we go, and subjectively I must protest this site. I really do not like it for defense. It's almost impossible to hold vert control up above, and then you're so vulnerable to a lot of horizontal lurk pressure as well from the attack, and FaZe are the exact team that are going to go for that. So I'm intrigued to see what DarkZero throw into the mix. Again, this site very rarely selected. It actually globally recently has had a 50-50 split attack defense, but with such a low play rate, it's kind of difficult to extrapolate from that. This lineup to me suggests, especially with the Blackbeard, I think they're going to look to get in the face. You have triple vert as well, so it's going to be so difficult to have any pressure on site. Maybe DZ eventually forced into retake. The clash as well may be vulnerable. Like, where do you end up posting NJR in this round? Because if he's getting bombarded from above, there's no way he can play site. Yeah,
at least in the early stages, it looks like they were taking that cafe kitchen approach where you play externally.
Yeah.
So, you don't play on site, you don't give up anything to vert, but you make sure that the attackers can't really get in there. So they've extended out towards the main reception. They've created that rotate for them to go through a little bit later on. So I think that they're planning on FaZe Clan going for this exact style of attack. An impact trick, I think, just happened as well to get rid of some of those Habana pellets that had been set out towards that. So I'm wondering where that had been thrown from.
No impacts in place. I think it was just a whiff.
Yeah? I've done it.
I didn't quite see it, so I looked away, so I can't confirm, but either way, I can confirm that Vida King is in the objective. So this is the pressure from the Blackbeard that we anticipated. NJR is in sight, so not being thrown away from vert. Vida thinks about the plant. Probably not the best decision. Able to just survive, but will finally be slain. Spirits traded, though, and FaZe will maintain this pace.
Yeah, it's a 3v2 now as they start to take control inside of sight. The case is cold, but a quick double from Pamba and Citizen will leave it all down to KDs. Now, with Citizen and Pamba. You look at their position, they're playing the vert, they know exactly where the case is in play. 1 minute on the clock, doesn't look like he has any drones that he can use. He does have a couple of flash grenades, but I think that going to pick up this case, you are taking a big risk. Now, both defenders have now moved back down towards reception, and that'll give KDs the opportunity to try to get the case down. Couple more seconds, and it will be in play, and we're now in a post-plant situation. Now the pendulum will swing a little bit back in favor of FaZe Clan. You don't need to peek. Play the auto. That's one of the great things about CGX now. You can play a little bit more passive, and once you hear the footstep, that's when you go aggressive.
Alex not to jump inside. Now needs to isolate these ones as DarkZero converge on his position, and they time it to perfection. Pamba with a clean pick, and a 3-2 lead for DZ.
And they need one more, though. I still think they're going to need that 4-2 split. I'm going to look behind me, because one of the things I love about this situation is being able to read the body language of some of the players, right? And as we look across, it does look like, despite losing that round, FaZe looks so relaxed, don't they?
So focused. Yeah, sometimes it can be challenging to decipher focus in comparison to maybe frustration at times if they're just being emotionless, but you just know a team like FaZe with all their experience at this kind of level, like that, they just don't care. They'll reset. That side's unlikely to be played again at all in this match. It's not going to be seen in OT, so they'll shake it off, maybe take some learnings from it, whatever the case may be. Reset now for the following round, which is really, really important. If they maintain a 3-3 scoreline here, that's pretty big on labs.
It's that scoreline where I think neither team are going to be overly happy and neither team are going to be too disappointed, right? It just means that going into that second half, you've got to take advantage of the one you have, especially if you're on attack, right? Starting on or going into defense, get that first round under your belt, you're in a wonderful position. But there's a little while to go yet before we get there. Final round of the defensive half for DZ. The lineup, look at it, it's very familiar. We've seen it before. It's Citizen once more on the Melusi. You're bringing Nafe on the Clash, and then the double shotgun from the Mute Smoke combo. It's really important that they get value out of those smokes, and we saw them do it really well the last time where you threw the smoke, and once you got stunned from behind, to just buy yourself a little bit of space and really slow down the attack.
Failed to mention that the additional bans were the Monty and Mirror, at least I did, perhaps you touched on them, but taking that Monty off the board just makes things a little bit more challenging on the map clear for FaZe. They don't elect to bring at least the Blitz on this particular occasion, so intrigued to see how they fight for above control. That is the expectation with the Ram in play. Hard breach on the exterior, well, that should be relatively straightforward. Sure, Mute in play, but even if it was used on the wall, easy to clear. The Clash though. Bit of a wild card here from Nafe. Very aggressive inside of IT. Posts up immediately, but elects now to fall back. I believe there's an impact trick as well from below. Soaks up some of this attacking util, but the wall eventually opened by FaZe.
Yeah, 1 minute and 55 seconds to work with as they will fall back in towards Rafters, giving up IT now as FaZe Clan will look to take the site from above. It's really important now from DZ that you don't give FaZe that opening pick that they thrive on. Most of this pressure from DZ on the defensive side is on the top floor. A lot of information being garnered now. You know the players on Rafters trying to just bait a peek to come through. But now 3 players starting to push in horizontally from the side. Clash will step up to get a ton of information, and that baits the kill from NJR as he finds one, but there's Cyber to trade it back.
Yeah, Nafe with a crazy jump out eventually fell. And FaZe now with a significant advantage, negated a bit by Pamba. At least finds one back. NJR under pressure from above though, clean kill from Cyber, had red ping info, and now Pamba needs to find all 3. His position also known, caught out, FaZe Clan take the round.
And they won that with information. The drones were in the great position. I don't think DZ had any clue where they were. They knew every single defensive move before it was played, and we will now move into the side swap. So FaZe Clan will kick things off. We'll get our ban FaZe. Do you think we'll see something similar to what we saw at the start of the game, or do you think FaZe have something different in store?
If I had to guess, I think they'll probably go down the path of hard breach ban and double down in that regard. I'd be a little bit more surprised if we saw shields banned out against DZ, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out. I mean, it's a bit of a coin toss in this meta, right? It's pretty much going to be one or the other. The Bravo, at least in the first half, was certainly a bit more out there in terms of the bans that we saw. So let's see the first round. Kaid Ying. Okay, so Ying's another intriguing one, who prior to the change in bans, was very prevalently taken off the board. She's so strong post, forces the defense to play around the Warden. Has tapered off a little bit now in the new system, so intrigued to see it played here. Perhaps reading into some of the set plays that DZ tend to play into. Maybe they've got a read on the strat book.
I did see a few games where they do like to bring Ying, so it's no surprise they want to get that out of play. Secondary bans, will it be a double breach denial ban on the side of DZ? Well, looking at this, yes it is. So Bandit is gone.
Wow, okay.
2 execute operators have been removed, right? Two operators that we see a lot, like Glaz.
Pretty rare to see 2 execute off the board. It's honestly rather rare to see even 1 taken out. If it's going to be a flex op, it is typically kind of that Bravo that we see, or maybe a Grim. So it leaves all shields, all hard breach up on the board. This is going to be quite the lab second half. It's going to be quite intriguing. It's not every day of the week you see these bans in play on this map.
Yeah, and I want to see how that plays out inside the game as well. Like, to kick things off on the defense, Clash, who has featured heavily so far in this game, will feature again now after the side swap. Azami, as always, I like to say conceptually, you look at that section of the map like Clubhouse Garage, you put your Azami in there, you block off lines of sight, you force the attackers to clear that position. Clash, on the other hand, will see something similar again, you know, playing over on the other side of the map, utilizing it to just, if you lose a piece of the map, you put it down by pillar, you hold it. I think all in all, it's nothing crazy on the defensive side. The attacking side, though, Spirits is going to take Monty if it's available. Especially, it's so good at clearing positions like Rafters or clearing over towards Aqua.
I mean, that's a point that we probably should have probably brought up when we were discussing it, right? Spirits is regarded by some as being one of, if not the best shield player in the entirety of Siege. I mean, maybe up for debate, depending on how historical you want to go in nature, but at the moment, he's really quite up there. So FaZe clearly confident that they can counteract it. Obviously, they would know going into this that DZ are going to pick it if available.
I laugh at that because their colleagues from NA were talking backstage and they were like, Spirits is the best shield player in the world. NA are like the team that's setting the tone when it comes to season. I'm going, well, rewind it back. Brazil were the first. So again, FaZe Clan know how to deal with this. They know how to deal with Monty. Yes, Spirits is phenomenal at it. Not quite as good as, you know, one of our former, was it Anatun back in APAC whenever he gets on it. But I think the DZ are really effective at using Monty with Spirits to take a lot of space. Citizen will probably play below to try clear space with that Deimos. And I always like bringing Grim as well, right? That combination of operators they have on attack is really good for clearing space.
Interestingly, FaZe electing to also bring the Warden in the hands of KDS despite the Ying ban. So maybe looking to play the Tuck. You can use that to counter against the 2 flash grenades available for DarkZero. Still posturing outside the map currently, but as I say that, Monty now progressing forward. Warehouse Raft is under pressure, and it has been abandoned by defense.
Pixel angle here for NJR as he'll begin to open up that wall. Spirits will take full control of Rafters now. So a little bit of eject on. I think Pamba's just creeped inside of IT as well. So we know exactly where this push is from. Clash will begin pushing from the other side of the map now, but you can see a lot of pressure from the attackers now. One thing to know, you cannot go through that rotate that's been created. Monty, with the shield up, cannot go through that space. So you've got to feed information to where the rest of the players are as to where the defenders are. Pamba almost falls as he drops down to 1 HP. But if you give DZ an opening now, if they find that opening pick, this could really go heavily in their favor.
They're just really struggling to find that initial pick to get going. Citizen went below, had a grenade in hand. He also unable to find all too much. FaZe still full HP. They're kind of chilling in this position. 40 seconds. DZ stalled out pretty massively at the moment.
Yeah, time the enemy now for DZ. They've opened up the walls. They've got all this section map, but you cannot step inside without an opening pick. And look at that, not just 1, 2 on the board, as Pamba with 1 HP will find one of his own. Goes prone and deals a little bit of damage towards the Clash, but KD's will find one of his own. 4v3. Almost 15 seconds to go. Numbers starting to fall. You can see the rotate. It's all down to the Clash now. And NJR will get the kill. And that's exactly what the doctor prescribed for DZ. An opening attacking round win. And as we said, it was all about taking space, the lineup they had. They took so much map control early on. And they almost just waited going, I know that FaZe Clan are aggressive. They will give a peek at one point in time. And that's going to be the pendulum that decides the game, is who wins whenever they eventually do take that peak. And it kind of played out that exact way.
They were desperately searching for that opening pick for so long. It was really tedious, even with the Deimos below, the map control, the hard breach. They had all the pieces lining up. They just needed to find that singular kill. And fortunately, in the end, they were able to do so and then steamroll from there. It is, again, that kind of site. You crack that opening up, you break those crosses. It's so challenging then to prevent pressure blue, electrical, etc., etc., etc. It's a really compounding effect on that particular site. So FaZe under a bit of pressure at the moment. This game has not quite gone the way I anticipated. Sure, DZ, we expected them to be competitive to an extent. But they're now finding themselves in a rather good position. Obviously still attacking into labs. It's quite even. I wouldn't let the scoreline be too deceptive at the moment, but FaZe, I don't know.
You predicted 7-4, though. It's still a possibility. Yeah. So, you know, there's still a chance.
I think that's waning, though, at this point.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say 7-4 from here.
It's always a possibility until it's not.
Yeah.
So you're still in with a chance. But for DZ, you got to take advantage of that now. You've got information on where two of the defenders, so Citizen can start tracking out some players and maybe find a bit of information. Thermite will get the wall open nice and early too, so that's another job checked off on the side. Warden's in play again. Now we know this is where the glass band kind of steps in, this side in particular, the Ying as well. So DZ now need to find success elsewhere as they go to push. So get vertical control. Make it so that the defenders cannot play in those power positions. And I think with the walls open and 2 minutes to go, they've got 5 drones that they can utilize, plus the fact that Citizen can get information as well. I think he is going to try to find where Handy is playing. They're going to slow things down again, similar to what we saw in the last round.
Solace always an intriguing pick. Her play rate dipped massively after she was nerfed several months ago, but still has her niche opportunities to be effective, especially in terms of plant denial and even through the mid to late round gaining information as well. DarkZero identify that though and place the death mark on Cyber's position and just make that Solace a little bit nervous. Pressuring from above, DZ with control, Ram in play for Vert. And so smooth sailing at the moment. And if this plays out in a similar fashion to the last round where DZ are given the opportunity to set up and pressure the defense with ease, could potentially translate to a similar result. The difference being, though, on this site, on this objective, very different in the sense that defense has the opportunity to flank, has the opportunity to reaggress, and if FaZe find that window, they will take it.
And that's one of the things Citizen is oh so good at. 4 attackers now stacked up as Spirits will begin stepping down those cargo stairs. No footholds at the bottom, but you can see that the defender is realizing we need to give ourselves some form of a line of sight to stop this push, but the shield is a threat that they need to deal with. Solace being targeted now by the Deimos as well, and Citizen will use that information to find the kill. 5 versus 4. This is where DZ really need to make things work, but there's only 30 seconds to go. So time, which was in their favor, is now going the other way. This is where the flames will work out. You can see that Spirits is chasing someone down. Handy finds a kill, but it's a quick double, and Nafe will find one of his own. 2v2 now, with just 15 seconds to go. The case is in the hands of Citizen. He's going to go for the plant. Handy is down, so you just got to cover your man. They're going to go for the res upstairs. The case is now down in sight, and this is all of a sudden a retake now for FaZe.
Really, really tough retake, especially into limited information available here for FaZe. They're having to clear so many positions. DarkZero able to move. That being said, NJR now taken low, and Souls tries his best to progress forward. Citizen gets in on the action as well, but Souls still survives. Handy in the meantime off the back of the res, now pushing through Tank, trying desperately to find this kill and lands the shot. It's a 1 versus 1 now, 15 seconds on that fuse. NJR just needs to play time. Handy now needs to stick, and there's really no opportunity now for FaZe to be able to win out this round. And DarkZero will confirm it. A 5-3 lead, looking really good on attack.
And what I'm really liking about this is they're hanging with the punches. Whenever FaZe Clan counter and hit them hard, they're not panicking, they're doing the right things, they're continuing with the play. Now, Ben is not somebody, like Citizen is not someone you see plant an awful lot. And you saw that while he was going for that, FaZe Clan realized in the post-plant we would rather have 2 players alive. Yes, hindsight's 2020, maybe other options were there. But DZ now have advantage in this game as we have a timeout. The question I have is, what are these coaches saying? Because for if you're DZ, everything's going rosy on attack so far. So for Kenny, it's going to be just keep doing what you're doing. Everything's fine. But on the other side of the table, you've just lost your opening 2 rounds on defense.
Trying to analyze that body language again. Is that focus now starting to slowly transform into potentially some concern for FaZe?
I'm not going to lie, looking at them, it's kind of like, this is upper bracket. We lose, it's fine. You know, we can go for a lower bracket run if needs be. But I feel like winning this game is more important for DZ in the grand scale of things, right? I think that DZ could be in trouble in a lower bracket run, whereas FaZe Clan, they could thrive and build on it. But we're back inside the action now as things stand. Can DZ extend that lead even further and move on to map point? Or will FaZe Clan strike back? Site selection looks like they're going to go back up to the top floor, bringing a mirror this time around, which can be so effective. But the thing is, having a mirror in play, Pamba doesn't even need to change. He's already got the Ash, the perfect counter for that.
I feel like we're getting closer towards that phase of the match now where questions will begin to be posed. Do DarkZero know how to close out a game? It's a skill that few possess, especially hailing from the APAC region. I know all about teams not being able to close out games. So with DarkZero having this strong setup, this strong lead, can they convert? They've got FaZe on their heels at the moment. That's not a sentence that is frequently said about these teams hailing from SAL. They are almost always the ones that are applying pressure. At the moment, they now have their backs against the wall. They need to bite back here. DarkZero continue to have these rather slow-ish kind of setups, almost akin to the days of old for this particular organization, and then executing cleanly. And this is the kind of aggression disruption I want to see from FaZe. A spawn pick attempt from Cyber. Why not? Throw it out there.
Yeah, it doesn't get the kill, but it does give Nave something to think about for the rest of the round.
Yeah.
I always feel like one of the things that FaZe don't like is really passive teams playing against them on the attack, because they want to do the hardest thing.
It's like the anti-SAL, right?
Isn't it? The hardest thing to do, and it goes from the very top to the very bottom of the ecosystem, is staying still or doing nothing. Players get a little bit agitated when they've not got anything to do for a long time, and then they make mistakes, and DZ seem to be feeding off the back of that. But what's impressing me most is their early game timing. They're getting walls open early, they're taking space early, and then they're just droning and waiting for that first mistake to happen. And honestly, I love it. And there's a C4 attempt. Pamba's going to go low as well, but that's another vital bit of utility thrown out with no real benefit off the back of it.
Pamba with no exothermics now remaining in the round. NJR, I presume, will probably have some summers left as well. But again, it's another bit of a slow-ish build-up style of round. Bit of very early aggression from FaZe, but DarkZero have done a pretty good job at dismissing that for the most part. Sure, HP now at disadvantage, but not necessarily the end of the world in Siege. Can they posture now for this attack and look to clear out key positions? Keeping in mind, FaZe electing not to rely on the clash. Ton of utility being dispersed onto Spirit's position, but Pamba again finding entry.
Yeah, and it's just that threat, right? You force the player to get aggressive onto Spirits, and then you play and get that kill. 5 versus 4 now. Stepping inside of IT, but there's only 40 seconds to work with from this point on. KDs and Souls are both playing tucked close to the wall as they get ready to push back this one. But NJR and Citizen, a quick double of kills. DZ seemingly have FaZe Clan on the ropes as things stand. 20 seconds left to go. And there you go, the attackers, Nif with a double. And just like that, they move on to map point. And they are throwing some shade over towards FaZe Clan.
I mean, at this point, they have every right to say really whatever they want. They have the SI reigning champs on the ropes. Best of one, first day, say what you will, but there is no world really in which DZ should be, to an extent, winning this game, but certainly not in a fashion like this. They are stomping them on attack into labs. This is crazy.
And I think, is that a case that maybe, maybe NAL is much, much stronger? Like we said, they were getting a lot closer to SL. They were the region closing the gap. But this is really good from DZ. Like, I know that the person I normally work with is like a generational NA hater. He is just anyone but NA. but I'm so impressed with the way they're playing. And it's, as I said, they're making FaZe do what they don't like to do. They're long, drawn-out rounds. And if I'm anyone else in this tournament, I'm watching this and going, there's the platform. There's the way to play them. Just really slow, force them into mistakes.
Yeah, FaZe left to twiddle their thumbs through the mid-round here, often on defense, and it's making life very challenging late round against a DZ that are firing on all cylinders, and that's honestly in contrast to what we were mentioning on the desk, that statistically firepower for DZ, not their strength typically, but at the moment, really popping off. Additional bans then for the remainder of this half, the Mute and the Deimos.
I'm actually surprised they went for the Deimos over the Monty, knowing again how good Spirits is on that operator. Like, I know that they've brought it every round and Citizen's been using it to his advantage to try move players out of position. But I feel like the Monty's just been that bit more effective. Full lineup swap here for DZ as we move inside the round now. Blitz will still be in play as they elect to bring that shield. I'm looking at the Brava though. That Brava has to be a counter to the Melusi and maybe the Fenrir. They're the only real ones you want to get, especially if you want to push directly into sight. They're great things that you can steal away from the defenders.
Yeah, there's certainly a couple of default cams as well that are pretty impactful in this particular side. Again, encountering mid-round aggression from FaZe if they are to lurk down in that basement position, want to re-aggress, contest vert, or even on the top floor, for instance. That could be valuable. Early hard breach successful, so IT exposed. DZ, though, with this lineup and limited vert, indicating that it will be horizontal. Unlikely to be completely direct. I'm sure they'll look to chip away their utility across to that game's position. That's the most likely route. But they'll probably be adaptable, I think. As this match, if it does continue to progress, they may need to do so. If FaZe eventually get a good read and find a way to just chill and not get caught out by the tempo, then DarkZero may be forced to change. We'll kind of wait and see. But at the moment, it's the exact same blueprint. It's the exact same blueprint we've seen every single round with this slow build up, the util clearance, just chip away at map control, low risk from DarkZero, and then they'll pounce when that opportunity arises.
And even the decision making over what utility you want and what utility you don't want, right? Nafe was able to get one of the Melusi gadgets away. He could have stolen the vault camp, but knowing the area is clear, it's better for his team if he just jumps in and shoots that. And they're getting more and more and more of that defensive utility every single time we look. And that really hampers FaZe Clan the later and later we get inside this round. Minute and 15 seconds left to go. Still hasn't really been a shot fired in anger at either one of the players. But as you look at this FaZe, with a lot of people in and around site itself, essentially, if you can clear rafters, you've got free reign over so much of the utility because it's only really Vidiking there that's in that area.
Well, Handy finds the first, and that's the diffuser dropped. Spirits looking to respond on Blitz, but FaZe, they know how to counter shield play. And making his progression so challenging. Traps in play, slowing him down. NJR, though, has been so good this afternoon, up to 14 kills and a big double to get DZ back in the round.
35 seconds to go. DZ looking to take an upset in the first one. Spirits with another kill, leaving it all down to KDs and Handy. You can see that Handy is below now. 4 of the Americans standing, looking to get this win. Handy needs to pull off one hell of a play from this position, but there's only 15 seconds to go. Time's running out, but Panba finds the kill, and DZ open up.